For anyone who hasn't attended any of the Fortress Forum conversations I've had so far, or who doesn't know the podcast that I present, my name is Jackie Smith. I'm the host of Into the Necrosphere, which is a weekly podcast that drops episodes every Tuesday. So if you like the kind of conversation that you're about to hear, then obviously make sure that you subscribe and share with a friend, foist it on an enemy, or whatever else you feel inclined to do. I am here with one of the gentlemen from Gaerea, and I'll let him introduce himself in his own words, and then we'll get started.
Well, thanks for having me. This is not awkward at all. So
you should have seen the previous conversation where Ralph from Ulfa sat on my lap.
Yeah. No, thanks for everybody to be here. It's going to be a nice conversation. We know each other. So.
Yeah, we do. And like I was saying to you, and I'll set the scene for everybody as we kind of get this conversation kicked off. One of the takeaways that I had when I first had you on the podcast, and I said this to Katie, our mutual friend who got the interview set up, and I've mentioned it on the podcast many times before. The way back when I met Nurgle from Behemoth when they put out Zoskir Cultus, and I said to friends at the time, I was like, there's just a different energy about this guy. Like you can just tell that you could tell Behemoth was going to be something big. There was like a discipline and a focus and an intensity to what he was, to the way that he projected and the way that he carried himself. And I said to Katie, like, I get exactly the same feeling from having spoken to you. Let me ask you, like, I'm not going to say, do you feel like that's a fair comparison? But I think what I want to explore in today's conversation is really what it's like being inside Gaerea as, you know, the momentum is sort of growing behind this band, because it really does feel to me like it is. Let's start with Mirage. We spoke about a week before that record came out. How did you feel about the response to the album? And how people, how they took to the music, because it was a record that was conceived and I think delivered in quite a unique way relative to the two records that you put out previously. Yeah. So what was your feelings about how people, responded to and received the record?
Well, it was quite amazing. I mean, of course, it's that, like, every band will say this, but the thing we noticed with Mirage is that we gained quite a big following with that album alone. Of course, there's always the people that were there since the beginning with the first EP and Unsettling Whispers, and there's a lot of people that were at home because we're all at home when Limbo came out in 2020. But it's with the cycle of Mirage, us playing a song like Salve for the first time at Hellfest, playing Mantle for the first time at Wacken. So that summer was for sure very crucial for to pave the way for what was going to happen with Mirage. And then we went on tour and we haven't stopped ever since. It's still a crucial part of our set, as people will notice. It really shaped us in a more modern way and our own unique way, as we like to think of. And yeah, it's probably our most important record, and probably will be one of our most important records. I don't know if we lost another 10 years with a couple more records. I believe Mirage will still. I hope it's an album that will stand the test of time, and an album that keeps bringing people into our sphere. So yeah, it's been quite amazing. We could go another year probably without releasing music and still do a couple more tours. It's just that we are too stubborn, and we just like to create stuff all the time.
So I alluded to it already, but one of the things that we spoke about was the creation of the record, and you kind of explained that it was effectively done across a 2-week period. It was meant to be this record that was a really sort of spontaneous expression and reaction to where the world was at the time. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, we were. Can I curse?
No, absolutely not. Everyone here is extremely sensitive, as you can tell. He's put his hand up. He said, "No, please don't." No, you can curse as much as you want.
We were quite pissed that we couldn't go on tour for like the second or third time. We had this amazing tour with two bands that we absolutely love. It was keeping postponed, and we were so done with all the limbo cycle. We overdid so many of the things. We did like all the music videos we wanted to do, all the music videos we didn't want to do. We also did like live sessions, photo sessions. We did everything we can. We played for rooms like this in Portugal with only 100 people could fit. We did all of that. And then at some point we thought we're going to go on tour, and that got, of course, postponed again. So I think that fear but also I was quite angry back then that we couldn't fucking go on tour and be a band again, because it's where we mostly feel alive. It's on tour, on a stage. It's where everything comes full circle for Gaerea. And I think all those feelings, that frustration, led to us just like sitting down and write with no sleep and get an album done in 2 weeks. That's exactly what happened. And after 2 months we were recording it, and after 6 months we were releasing it. A bit more, but yeah, it was very spontaneous. That's why there are so many aggressive tracks out there like Salve, but there's also very minimalistic songs like Mirage, with just like 1 or 2 notes in the middle section, because it's also an album where I kind of realized we are not the fastest band out there. We don't want to be the fastest band out there. We don't want to be the most dissonant band out there. We want to create songs that people will remember. That's the most important thing. And I think for the first time, even if you compare Limbo with Mirage, Limbo is a very compressed, over the top. Everything is fast. Our drummer hates to play some of those songs because it's just like blast beats all the time. Clearly an album composed by a guitar player, but yeah. But Mirage had that element where everybody had way more touch in it, and we spent a bit more time working on some of those sections, and you have beautiful passages, mostly in the cleaning sections, the beginning of the record. It takes its time to evolve, and it's an album that really has that voyage kind of vibe without being like completely aggressive all the time, because we don't want to be that band. We wanted to be that band for Limbo, but everything changes, and I think it's important for artists to change their perspective, change their ideas, change their some part of their identities as well. I mean, we travel around the world, we meet so many people, we see other cultures, and that also shapes us as human beings and artists. And of course, things will change for us, as you can hear in a song like World of Blaze, for example. It's a very different song from everything we ever did.
I was going to ask you, is there something freeing about writing and delivering music in such a spontaneous way? And the reference point that I have is I've got a very good friend who's so he was formerly in Akrikaka. He's been in he is in the Antichrist Imperium. He's got a project called Werewolves, and he told me, like, throughout his whole career, he would, spend an extraordinary amount of time, mulling over the same riff. Like, is this absolutely perfect? Tweaking a note here, tweaking a chord there. And then with Werewolves, basically he said, I'm going to write a record where I'm almost forcing myself to not change anything about it. I sit down, I write a song, and this, how I write it is it's done. And he finds it completely liberating. That approach you took to Mirage, was there something that, as much as like Limbo is always a record to me that sounded very disciplined and very considered, whereas Mirage does kind of have that anarchist feel to it, which I think, Tom Fisher was on the stage yesterday talking about it too. Like, I think it's missing a little bit from modern extreme music today.
I think we always wrote songs in a very spontaneous way. I mean, writing an album in 2 weeks, it's like, at least for me, writing something, it's like waking up in the morning, grabbing whatever we need to write the songs. And if it's not done by the end of the day, I'm never going to finish that. Because it doesn't feel right anymore. I mean, if I can't finish this thought process right now, I'm not going to do it tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll probably just think that this is shit. So even for a song like Roll the Blaze or stuff coming in the future, or even Mirage, even Limbo was a bit like that, honestly. We sat a bit on Limbo because we were starting our first tours, and we're also changing a bit of the structural part of the band. So everything took a bit more time there, as it takes in the first records. But everything needs to be done there for me. There's songs in Mirage and even future stuff that 2 songs were written in the same day. And of course you can call it too spontaneous, or say, well, you could probably spend some details, some time on the details there. But it's time we will spend in the studio with our producer as a band, rehearsing. The whole basis, the whole vibe needs to come right there, at least for me. It needs to be right there in that moment, otherwise it's lost, and tomorrow it's going to be something different. Another song, another lyrical theme. It's on those weeks or months of creation, it's a moment of I have this idea, I need to lay it down now. Otherwise it's going to be lost, or it's just going to be like memories of this thought. Oh, I was thinking about this, or I had that riff in my mind. Maybe I can fit it now. It doesn't work like that for me. It's very spontaneous, as you were saying.
Under what circumstances do you find you tend to be the most creative, or the ideas tend to flow most freely?
Oh, ideally, we would rent a cabin and be in the lake for a month or 2, not doing anything and still getting paid, but that never happened. So it's mostly when there's proper time at home in an environment that's safe for me, where everything is balanced. We can't write on the road. We tried. It doesn't work. We're too busy all the time with other stuff. It's not the moment for that. So it's normally when things settle after a tour, after a big cycle of doing all sorts of things. But mostly it just happens after we play the older songs a lot of times, because those songs will still be shaped as we play. As people will notice today, there's versions and versions, like different waves that were changed in songs. We don't play the songs exactly as they were recorded, because honestly, I think it's just boring to reproduce something and it's exactly as it is, mostly in extreme music or the genre we play. It's supposed to be unique for that moment. The way we behave on stage, the way we play that riff, the way we sing that part, everything is exactly for that moment, and we give ourselves the freedom for that. But yeah, getting back to the question is, whenever the dust settles, whenever all the songs that we already changed on tour and all the ideas around the album or the previous record are like, okay, we did this album, we learned from touring this album, and we are different kind of musicians, different kind of artists. Maybe it's time to sit down in front of an amp and a computer and just like starting to see what happens. Yeah.
Changing songs when you're taking them out on the road, how much of that happens just in the heat of the moment on stage versus it being a considered decision that you take together as a band in the rehearsal room?
We do it on tour almost every day, honestly. I mean, we are very consistent with, of course, our times on stage. We are a very modern band. We don't use amps on stage, as a lot of people don't know. We are very modern in that way, but also gives us the freedom to change whatever we want, because we're not strict to a lot of like analog stuff on stage or tube amps or all that. We can always just go to our project and change stuff. Let's make another kind of intro. In this moment we do this. Maybe that thing didn't work out yesterday, because we're always analyzing our performance and not being too critical about stuff that doesn't matter, but like how does the audience feel this aspect of the show. And sometimes it's just like stuff like, we'll change the set list, we'll change this track with this one, but this thing only works if we do something else with it sound-wise. And that's how we kind of shape it. There's intros that are longer, because in the end, you're doing a show. For us, the performance is everything. That's why we go so further away with the expression of the show. Of course, we have a production. There's a crew around us, but everything for us needs to be very raw, emotional-wise on stage, and that also translates into the songs and the way we play them.
We've spoken about this separately. You've spoken about this on a load of interviews. The live experience when it comes to Gaerea is, that's what the band is designed for.
Yeah.
What was I guess first of all, let's talk about conceptualizing the band's look and how you guys present yourself on stage. What was the kind of original inspiration for that? Where did the idea to do that come from?
I always said this. We're just nobodies without these things on our faces. None of us come from a big band. So, of course, you want people to focus much on the music, but I always envisioned like a group of people just going on stage with the same emotion, the same vibe. They all look the same, and they will just like destroy themselves on stage. There were shows on this tour, and sometimes happen we just like get out of stage and we just like all kneel or lay down on the floor because we can't fucking breathe. We're not doing a big favor to ourselves on wearing the stuff we wear, but it helps us go to a different place in our minds. Whenever you can't breathe, whenever you can't see shit, because it starts to create this like puddle of sweat on your face. Of course, you need to know what the fuck you're doing on stage, know the riffs, all of that, so you can play without seeing anything. But also helps us go to a different place in our mind. It's difficult to explain it, but it kind of gives that extra push to the expression and the emotional part of what you're doing on stage right there, because you just have to survive it and go with it. And as I think it was, I think I saw an interview a few years ago from a big band I like, where he said that extreme music is not supposed to be safe, and it can't be comfortable all the time. And sometimes it's not comfortable for the audience because it's a very aggressive band to the audience. We don't do that. We do that towards ourselves, as you saw with videos like the Dormant video and all that. It's trying to take the lyrical aspect into live action and feeling it as much as we can on stage in the most natural way of that moment.
Out of interest, what's the most physically taxing experience you've ever had on stage? Or can you remember like one incident where, a show took a particularly brutal toll on you?
Oh, I don't know. The other day we were playing in Krakow and it was so warm that I don't know, did it ever happen to you where you just like close your eyes, open them again, and you're in a different part of the room? That happens to us a lot. You just blink, and we have that sometimes because it's like very warm or something, and we're not going to be cunts and just like demand fans and all that shit. I mean, this is our experience. We want people to see this very sweaty, warm, aggressive show towards ourselves, and it's supposed to be that. We are the ones that need to struggle as artists and performers and musicians. But yeah, it's all these different things. But yeah, the other day I had that.
I've got some degree of empathy. Years ago, I was in a band, and I've only played a couple of shows, but I remember going out on stage for the first time, being so excited about it, and getting to the middle part of the second song and literally going, oh my God, I'm going to pass out in front of all these people. It's like, that's why I have some, especially with wearing the masks, and having seen this, tonight's going to be the first time I'm going to actually see you guys play, but having seen so many videos of you guys play, the amount of energy that you put out on stage is fucking nuts. Do you like go through, the band equivalent of fight camp before a tour? Do you actually have to physically prepare before you go on tour?
No. No, I think whatever happens on stage is, of course, some hardcore fans would love not to hear this, but we're very different people from the people on stage. In the end, we're kids having fun on tour. That's how it's supposed to be. We're not wearing all these leather jackets all the time. You mean
you don't wear this mask at all times?
No, we don't. We actually love to meet our fans and hang out. But yeah, whatever happens on stage is just something very special to us, and it's that moment of the day where everything calms down. And there's that rush. And sometimes we're just like very tired before the show. We just ate, and we're doing early dinners, and everyone is just like passing out on the backstage. Not a rock and roll kind of sight to see, but there's that moment before going on stage where everything just like fits together, and the energy just like starts to get to you, and then you just go on stage and do whatever the fuck we want to do. There was never a limitation there. There was never like, we need to behave like this. We need to headbang here. We need to, now let's just like switch and do this and all. We don't do that. Of course, we have things that we like to do. Most of the time, it just doesn't happen. Everyone is like its own person on stage. And it's important for us not to have just a frontman that does all this crazy shit, but all of us are in the same world of let's do this as if it was the end of the world kind of scenario. And it's exactly what we're going to do today as well.
How much energy do you get from the audience versus you guys just going on there and putting out? Because I remember seeing you guys do that COVID performance, and I was thinking to myself, like, there was a lot that went into it. I was like, how do you get psyched up when there's nobody there? So, I guess it's a twofold question. A, how did you manage to do that? But then B, like, what does the audience mean to you in terms of how much fuel you're getting when you're on stage?
Doing those live sessions, we were a very different band back then. It was a few years ago, and we had to do what we had to do to stay relevant. Let's just face it. It is what it is. People forget anything very fast, so we wanted to do something so people could still hear the songs. I don't think we're ever going to do something like that again, because all of these like last 2 or 3 years of touring taught us that that's not exactly what we're looking for. We're not just looking for into having a microphone and just sing to the camera. Everything for us, it's about the performance and the warmth of a fortunately sold out show, for example, or a very tiny venue. We still love to do those shows where we can just like feel the audience and touch them and just have them so close to you that it becomes this unique moment where you can share more. We hate shows with these divisions and pits. Of course, it's important, yeah, but we honestly don't like them. We want to have that closer moment with the audience, because it's that energy that, of course, starts with us, or starts with already the expectation of the audience. There's shows where people just go wild in the beginning. There's shows that we have to win them over because they don't know us that well, or it's just a different crowd. We don't have wild crowds every night, but whenever we do, those are the best shows. And we just had it in Glasgow, we just had it in London, we just had it in Dublin. Those shows are forever carved in our memories, because we remember how sick that moment was, where we can have a whole house clapping in this moment in loud, where I ask my light engineer to just turn on all the lights, because I really don't want to forget that moment. It's all these like photographic memory that will stay in my brain, and I hope I will never forget. It's that share with the audience. It's so important to us.
That's always been, that's another thing I found very fascinating over the last 2 decades of going to shows. I don't know whether we're all getting older, but it definitely feels to me like audiences have mellowed out a little bit. I remember seeing Slayer for the first time, and my cousin was with me, not even really into metal, he just wanted to come, but he got so stuck in the pit, he had this very, like a canary yellow t-shirt, and was literally popping up from one side of the venue to the other, like every 5 seconds.
You can always spot him then.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't really see that kind of craziness anymore. But are there still, and I'm asking out of curiosity as much as anything else, are there still countries or venues or spots where it's like, this is going to be a wild show?
Yeah, I mean, we always know some places we go to that's our crowd. That's, people are there also to see us, even if we're on a tour package or a festival. We have fans there, and we're going to treat them right with the best show we can. We know they're going to go wild with it. But it's I mean, with all this, it's important also for us to have some grip on it. I mean, it's we see our show as this like voyage as well. As we built it, there's moments where we need people to go wild. There's moments, and there's a moment right after where we also want people to just close their eyes and try to feel the energy of the space. That moment we have moments like that in Mirage or in Deluge, for example, where we don't need that, but we want people to just like go with us on this boat of emotions and different vibes of the song, and just like settle down, close their eyes, and just feel that thickness, energy that we feel on stage. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. Here's the kind of core of what I wanted to talk to you about is, as you become more popular, as you're getting more people interested in the band, how does that change, first of all, how the band operates? So like where you guys were prior to the release of Mirage versus where you are right now, how are things different for Gaerea?
Well, not much different. We're a bigger crew. We can always bring our sound guy, which is amazing. We can always bring our light guy. We can design new things with these people. They're amazing people we work with since a few years now already. And that's it, honestly. That's as big as our crew will get these days. It's not a big change in the structure or the behavior of the band. It's just like sometimes we can do a bit more cool shit and play with bigger bands, but we always want to show that one, we're not amateurs, because we've been doing this for quite a bit already. we're going to turn 9 years already. We've been doing this for quite a long time, and we're not amateurs. We don't want to be the cunts that behave as rock stars, and we want to prove to everybody in the room that we are the most professional band out there, and that this is not our rooftop. We can still go a bit further. I don't know where can we reach as an extreme metal band that looks like this and plays music as we do, but I know we can go a bit further away in this road, and it's always something we have present. We're very respectful people. We show our gratitude to everything we have, but this is not where we want to stop. We can go a bit further away.
So let's, if we talk first of all about the show, is there, if you had your way, like to what level would you amp up the production, the spectacle of what you're presenting? Could you see yourself doing a show like Behemoth, or dare say it, Rammstein, but like something that is just completely over the top, visually spectacular, but aligned to the image, the atmosphere that you're projecting?
I think we're always going to be a very minimalistic band on stage. In our own productions, where we're like the headliner band, where we have full control of what's happening on stage, everything is like very minimalistic. There's no amps, there's nothing on stage. It's just 5 dudes, 4 dudes and a woman going around the stage, just like go all like bananas on stage, and that's how we want to keep stuff forever, in my opinion. Of course, there's like a few elements, as you will all see today, that we add, some crazy shit we brought with us from home, but in the end, everything needs to serve the purpose of the expression of these 5 people on stage. I don't want to have big ass LED walls with videos where you don't really know where to look at. I want people to see us, human beings on stage with human expressions, not a lot of tricks to emphasize whatever it's not there. So yeah, there's a lot of ideas we want to do whenever we have a bit more power to do that in bigger stages, bigger productions, bigger band. But in the end, we will always be a very expression-based human band, and that's something that's just very important to us.
As we wrap up, you've just brought out your new single, which again, I think I absolutely loved it. I think the response to it, has been overwhelmingly positive. It is interesting reading in the, YouTube comments. There'll be like 1 or 2 people that say, "Oh, this is so different from what you done previously." One person wrote, "You may as well change the name of the band." Again, as you get bigger, do you have to make peace with the fact that you can't please everybody all the time?
We don't want to please everybody. It's not why we're here. Of course, we want to be happy with whatever we're putting out. So we're very happy with everything we ever put out. Otherwise, it would not be out there. But it felt great to. It was a small battle between like producer and band and label and all that. Like, should this be really a song we should put out now? And in the core, we all agreed, yeah, this is exactly the song we need, because we don't want to be releasing another Salve or another dissonant, super fast track or a very mellow, romantic track. We want to do something different. We want to see how much further we can push the envelope of what we're doing and releasing a track that nobody's expecting. Of course, you're going to piss off some people, but there's also new songs coming out where we can get them back, hopefully. But in the end, we still want to have our fans with us. We don't want to lose them all, just like releasing a weird song. But I don't see it as a weird song. I see it as the natural evolution of what we're doing as a band, as artists, and we want to do something different. We want to try different elements. I want to have this punk beat on the track, something we never had. We always had blast beats all the time and a few nice things here and there, but let's just do something that nobody's expecting and something that makes us very pleased and happy right now. So why the fuck not?
Yeah, I think that authenticity as an artist is incredibly important. It needs to be something that's an authentic expression of what you want to deliver as an artist. Exactly. And I think people can hear very, very quickly when you are writing for the brand rather than writing for the band.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you guys are playing tonight, 6:30. Folks, they're going to be on the main stage. I hope you have enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Our second time speaking, no doubt we will be talking again at some point in the near future. Have they announced a release date yet for the upcoming record?
Not yet. There's still a lot of things to come before that.
All right.
Step by step.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Cheers.
Folks, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you all.